Warriors, welcome back to the channel of learning philosophy. Your income has been stagnant because you've been playing life like a peasant, not a strategist. For the next 90 days, you will execute a ruthless plan that multiplies your earning power, eliminates financial weakness, and positions you as the dominant force in your environment. This is not motivation. This is Machiavellian economics, cold, calculated, and brutally effective. Money does not come to the kind, the hopeful, or the patient. It comes to the strategic. Niccolò Machiavelli taught that power belongs to those who manufacture their own advantage. In today's world, income is simply modern power, and if you fail to accumulate it, you place yourself at the mercy of others. Today, I'm giving you a 5-part ruthless strategy that transforms the next 90 days into the most financially explosive chapter of your life. You will learn a mindset shifting principle that destroys hesitation, the tactical repositioning that boosts income faster than skill, a Machiavellian manipulation of perception to attract opportunities, a performance discipline that creates inevitable financial gain, a dominance blueprint that secures long-term income power. Execute these 5 keynotes with cold precision, and your financial identity will never return to weakness again. Keynote 1. The Iron Script. You've been living under a weak internal script for years, and you don't even realize it. Every decision you've made, every hesitation, every financial ceiling you've hit, all of it comes from a quiet, invisible identity you've been obeying. This identity was not chosen by you. It was trained into you by society, by failure, by comfort, by the fear of stepping into power. And until you destroy that identity, nothing in your financial life will change. Not your income, not your opportunities, not your position in the world. Machiavelli understood something most people refuse to confront. A ruler loses power the moment he forgets who he is, the moment he allows a weaker internal voice to dictate his actions. He becomes vulnerable. The same law applies to you. Your income is not determined by your skill or your effort. It is dictated by the identity you obey in silence. When you wake up telling yourself you'll work hard, if you feel like it, you're already finished. When you negotiate your own discipline, when you avoid difficult tasks because they feel uncomfortable, you are following the script of a powerless version of you, and that version has been draining your financial potential for years. The next 90 days are not about motivation, inspiration, or positive thinking. They are about stepping into a new internal identity that functions like iron. An identity that doesn't negotiate, doesn't ask for permission, and doesn't wait for the right moment. This is the Iron Script, and once you adopt it, your actions stop being emotional and start becoming strategic. You stop operating like a civilian and start operating like someone who understands the battlefield of income. Every morning is now a recalibration. You wake up and declare your target income, not as a wish, but as a command. You define the actions tied to that income with the same cold clarity a general uses when defining a war plan. You begin to move in a straight line, eliminating distractions, removing weaknesses, and refusing anything that doesn't contribute to power. You stop describing yourself as someone trying to make money. You become someone who creates money through deliberate force. Every behavior you choose is filtered through one question: does this increase power or does it worsen weakness? And if it worsens weakness, you cut it out without hesitation. The Iron Script removes the last emotional crutch you've been leaning on. The idea that you must feel ready before you act. The idea that confidence must come before execution. The idea that fear means stop. This is the identity of peasants, not strategists. Your financial life begins accelerating the moment you stop caring about how you feel and start caring about what you produce. Identity precedes income. If you keep obeying the identity that is broke, undisciplined, afraid, and inconsistent, your bank account will reflect that weakness perfectly. But when you adopt the identity of a ruthless executor, your income rises because your actions rise to match it. This is the part most people never understand. They try to change their lives without changing the internal script they operate under. They use the same weak identity and expect strong results. They use the same fearful thinking and expect bold outcomes. They use the same undisciplined habits and expect disciplined rewards. But a Machiavellian strategist knows that transformation begins in the mind long before it appears in the world. You become powerful internally before you gain power externally. And the next 90 days demand that you become someone who treats income not as luck or chance, but as a deliberate construction of force and intention. From this moment forward, you move as someone who is rewriting their destiny through relentless internal command. You wake up with clarity. You defend your discipline like a fortress. You act without waiting. You attack tasks instead of negotiating with them. You stop bending to fear and instead bend fear to your will. This new identity becomes the architect of the income you will build over the next 90 days, because when your internal script becomes iron, your external world has no choice but to reshape itself around your new level of power. Keynote 2. Positioning Gambit. You've been fighting on the wrong battlefield, and that's why your income has refused to rise. It's not your intelligence, not your effort, not even your discipline that's holding you down. It's your position. Machiavelli warned that even a strong ruler becomes powerless if he stands on weak ground. And that is exactly where you've been standing. You're working hard in low-value environments, surrounded by people who think small, in roles that limit your financial potential, in spaces where your effort is worth pennies instead of power. And then you wonder why nothing changes. A soldier cannot win a war if he's deployed in the wrong territory. A lion cannot dominate if it's trapped in a cage built for sheep, and a human cannot multiply their income if they're positioned in places designed to suppress ambition rather than reward it. The truth is harsh but liberating. Your environment is worth more than your effort. Your proximity determines your potential. Your platform dictates the ceiling on your income. You may think you're stuck because of lack of opportunities, but the real problem is you're standing in a place where opportunities cannot find you. You've been trying to win a chess match while sitting at the wrong table. You've been trying to scale your income while surrounded by people who think survival is success. You've been trying to grow in a space that was never designed to let you evolve. Machiavelli would say, this is the fate of those who fail to recognize the battlefield. They fight bravely, but they lose predictably. Over the next 90 days, your mission is not just to work harder, but to reposition yourself with surgical precision. You must move from low-leverage activities to high-leverage outcomes. You must elevate your skill from replaceable to rare. You must step into arenas where your value increases simply because the environment demands it. This shift is not emotional, it's strategic. Just like a ruler moves his forces to control stronger territory, you must move your life into spaces where income flows with greater speed. This might mean switching industries, entering a higher paying niche, learning a skill that commands premium rates. escaping a job that traps your potential, or putting yourself in proximity to people whose expectations force you to rise. Position is power, and power is profit. Think about how your income would change if you simply changed the room you operate in. Think about what would happen if you placed yourself around individuals who earn 10 times more than you. Think about how your ambition would shift if you stood in environments where success wasn't exceptional but expected. You don't rise by willpower alone. You rise by exposure. You rise by pressure. You rise by placing yourself in ecosystems that punish mediocrity and reward execution. Machiavelli understood that a man becomes the product of the forces surrounding him. If he walks among the timid, he becomes cautious. If he walks among the powerful, he becomes strategic. If he walks among those who demand excellence, he becomes excellent by necessity. The next 90 days are your repositioning. You stop clinging to spaces where growth is impossible. You stop giving loyalty to environments that shrink you. You stop protecting relationships that keep you small. You stop investing time in low-value tasks that rob you of momentum. Instead, you move toward leverage. You move toward competence. You move toward influence. You place yourself in rooms where money moves, because those who operate there understand the rules of power. You transition from being surrounded by comfort seekers to being aligned with builders, thinkers, and strategic operators. Once you reposition yourself, your income begins responding almost immediately, not because you suddenly became more talented, but because you finally placed yourself in a space where your talent is worth something. You start attracting opportunities simply because you became visible in the right arenas. You start accessing information you never had before. You start seeing pathways that were invisible in your old environment. You start operating with a higher standard because everyone around you demands it. And in this new battlefield, your effort multiplies instead of evaporating. Your ability to earn rises because you've stepped into a territory where growth is the default, not the exception. Keynote 3: The Perception Engine. Your income is not controlled by your skill. It's controlled by how the world perceives your value. This is the part most people never understand. They believe money follows ability, when in reality, money follows perception. Machiavelli knew that power is rarely granted to the truly capable, it is granted to those who appear capable. Influence is not built on truth, but on the impression you create. And in your financial life, this law shapes everything. If people see you as average, they will pay you like you are average. If they see you as replaceable, they will treat you like a commodity. If they see you as uncertain, they will negotiate your value down to nothing. But the moment you control perception, the moment you engineer how the world sees you, your income changes long before your skill does. Right now, the biggest enemy of your income is invisibility. You are not seen as someone who matters in your field. You are not positioned as someone others look to for solutions. You are not perceived as someone whose presence signals authority. And because of that, opportunities pass by you silently. People choose someone else, even when you may be more capable, simply because that person appears more confident, polished, or established. You think you're being overlooked because life is unfair. In reality, you're being overlooked because you haven't mastered the Machiavellian power of perception. You've been assuming people see your value automatically. They don't. They see only what you project. Over the next 90 days, you must become a sculptor of your own image. You must manufacture a presence that communicates strength, competence, and high value the moment someone encounters you. Not through arrogance, not through lies, but through strategic presentation. When Machiavelli wrote about rulers, he emphasized that appearance is often more influential than truth itself. A ruler must appear decisive even when uncertain. He must appear strong even when vulnerable. He must appear virtuous even when acting in pure self-interest, because perception is the battlefield where most victories are won before actions are ever taken. In your world, this means you redesign the way you show up. Your online presence becomes refined, intentional, and authority-driven. The way you speak, the way you communicate, the way you structure your offers, the clarity of your messaging, the quality of your presentation, all of it becomes part of a bigger strategy. You stop blending in and start standing out as someone who carries weight. You present results, proof, testimonials, case studies, achievements, and signals of credibility that make people trust you before they even meet you. You use the psychology of status not to impress, but to command attention. You shape a narrative around yourself that communicates mastery, not mediocrity. Once you begin controlling perception, people respond to you differently. They take your message seriously. They trust your recommendations. They assume competence. They project high value onto you because you have taught them to do so. You begin to attract higher paying clients, stronger opportunities, better collaborations, and more influential connections. People start seeking you out instead of you chasing them. Your name begins circulating in conversations you were never part of before. You stop being an option and start becoming a source. And as this image strengthens, the world aligns its economic response to match it. This is the critical shift most people ignore. They keep trying to improve their financial life by working harder, gaining more skills, or grinding longer hours, while others with half their talent rise faster simply because they present themselves as valuable. Money flows toward clarity, confidence, and perceived authority. When you control how others see you, you control how they pay you. And in the next 90 days, your goal is to build a perception so strong, so strategically crafted, that your value becomes undeniable in every environment you enter. Keynote 4. The execution regime. You've spent most of your life letting your emotions negotiate your actions, and that's the root of every inconsistency that has sabotaged your financial growth. You think discipline is your problem, but the truth is far more ruthless. Your real problem is that you've been trained to obey your moods instead of your mission. Machiavelli warned that a ruler who allows emotions to dictate behavior becomes predictable, manipulable, and ultimately powerless. You have been living as that ruler. Every time you said, "I don't feel like it," you surrendered your sovereignty. Every moment you waited for motivation, you handed control of your future to whatever emotion showed up that day. And this emotional obedience is the silent force that has been destroying your income. To rise in the next 90 days, you must step into a level of execution that is mechanical, unfeeling, and strategically consistent. You cannot afford to operate like the average person who wakes up only to ask themselves whether they're in the mood to act. You must become someone who executes regardless of mood, regardless of fatigue, regardless of fear. This is the shift from emotional decision-making to mechanical execution. And once you make it, your entire financial life transforms. Because money does not reward intensity, it rewards consistency. The world doesn't care how inspired you felt yesterday. It cares about what you produce today. Think about how many opportunities you've lost because you waited for the right mood. Think about the ideas that died in your mind because you didn't feel ready. Think about the skills you never mastered because you trained only when your emotions allowed it. You've been living like a soldier who only fights when the weather is perfect. Meanwhile, the world moves forward, indifferent to your hesitation. This is why people with less talent surpass you. They act when you pause. They move when you hesitate. They execute when you negotiate. They rise because they didn't ask their emotions for permission. Machiavelli understood that power belongs to those who impose structure on themselves. A ruler does not wait for inspiration to govern. He governs because governing is necessary. This is the mentality you must adopt. You must build a daily execution regime that operates like a machine. You wake up and act because action is required. Not because you're inspired, not because it feels good, not because it's convenient. You act because execution is your new identity. Every day becomes a contract with yourself that must be honored, not questioned. You move with the discipline of someone who knows that the world only respects results. The structure you create becomes your armor. A set of behaviors repeated daily until they become automatic, a routine so precise that it eliminates decision fatigue, a rhythm of action so consistent that it rewires your mind to operate under pressure without collapsing. When you execute mechanically, you strip away the weakness that emotions create. You become someone who moves steadily while others burn out. You become someone who keeps pushing forward while others are still waiting to feel ready. You become someone who rises because consistency multiplies results in a way motivation never can. And once you begin operating like this, everything in your financial life accelerates. Your skill compounds faster. Your opportunities multiply. Your presence becomes more powerful. People take you seriously because you move with the reliability of a ruler, not the instability of a common man. You start producing more in a month than you used to produce in a year. You stop collapsing under stress because stress becomes irrelevant to your process. You break the old identity that sought comfort and replace it with an identity built on relentless execution. You stop being controlled by moods and start being controlled by mission. You learn to move even when afraid, even when tired, even when unmotivated, and that consistency becomes the force that separates you from everyone who still lives as a prisoner to their own emotions. 5. The power consolidation blueprint. You have been trapped in a financial loop without realizing it. Every time you make money, you start from zero again. Every time you push forward, you must push with the same amount of effort as before. You are living in a system where your income depends entirely on your presence, your energy, your hours, your ability to show up. And this is the ultimate weakness in your financial structure. Machiavelli warned that a ruler who depends solely on his own strength is vulnerable to collapse the moment fatigue, illness, or circumstance strikes him. You are that ruler. Your income is fragile because it lives and dies with your effort. One distraction, one setback, one bad week, and everything slows. This is not power. It is economic captivity disguised as hard work. In the next 90 days, your mission is to construct a structure that turns your income from effort-based to power-based. Power-based income multiplies when you are absent. It grows when you sleep. It expands when you step away. It continues even when life disrupts your rhythm. This is the financial equivalent of fortifying a kingdom. Machiavelli wrote that a wise ruler builds walls that protect the state even when he is not there to defend it. This is exactly how you must treat your income. You must build systems that do the work when you cannot. You must create mechanisms that continue producing results even in your silence. This is not luxury. It is survival. Right now, your financial identity is still tied to the sweat model, earning only when you push, gaining only when you grind, receiving only when you hustle. But the powerful do not operate this way. They construct engines of attention, engines of value, engines of sales, engines of influence. They build assets that speak for them, tools that operate for them, structures that generate consistent returns without requiring constant presence. They create leverage, and leverage is the difference between someone who grows gradually and someone who grows exponentially. Without leverage, your future is predictable. With it, your future becomes expandable. To transition into this level of power, you must begin identifying every part of your life that still relies on your constant manual input. You must recognize the relationships, habits, and systems that drain time without returning anything. You must stop performing tasks that could be automated or delegated. You must shift from being the worker inside the machine to being the architect who supervises the machine from above. You begin to design your income so that parts of it run on autopilot. You create offers that deliver continuous results. You build structures that convert without your presence. You negotiate deals that pay repeatedly rather than once. You step into spaces where the work you do once becomes income that returns again and again. As this new structure forms, something profound happens. You stop living in survival mode. You stop worrying about the next paycheck. You stop feeling like you're always one mistake away from collapse. Instead, you begin to experience financial momentum, money coming from multiple angles, multiple channels, multiple mechanisms, all aligned to support your rise. The pressure decreases even as your power increases. The fear of failure fades because you know your income is no longer tied to a single point of failure. You become someone who earns not because you're grinding endlessly, but because you've built a system strong enough to generate wealth without your constant intervention. This is the stage where your identity shifts from a laborer to a strategist. You think differently. You build differently. You stop chasing every opportunity and start constructing the few that matter. You focus your energy on creating tools that keep producing in the background: digital platforms, scalable products, recurring agreements, optimized workflows, partnerships that multiply reach, and structures that convert effort into long-term value. This is how you rise beyond exhaustion and into influence. This is how you step out of the endless cycle of chasing money and instead make money chase you. This is how you secure income as something permanent rather than temporary. This is how you move from fragile financial existence to fortified financial power. In the last few minutes, you were given a complete 90-day income transformation plan. You rewired your identity with the iron script. You elevated your battlefield with the positioning gambit. You rewrote your appearance with the perception engine. You operationalized discipline through the execution regime, and you secured long-term income through the power consolidation blueprint. Now the question is simple. Will you continue living as a pawn, or will you execute as a strategist? Claim your sovereignty, because in the next video, I reveal the darkest Machiavellian principle of all: how to make people respect you even when they don't want to. Stay ruthless.